news report saying that I'm dead is irrelevant.
An irrelevant badgering of the witness.
This question constitutes irrelevant probing of medical confidences.
I protest! This is not only irrelevant, immaterial, it is illegal.
Will be speculative and
immaterial and not binding on the respondent.
Overruled.
Objection! These remarks are profane and irrelevant.
The truth is, it really is totally irrelevant whether I like this man or not.
Our investigation concludes that this was a good shooting, but that's irrelevant.
Well, you're all becoming irrelevant. You'll be replaced.
An attack. Everything else is irrelevant.
A news report saying that I'm dead is irrelevant.
Until the person or persons who blew up that train are...
This entire line of questioning is argumentative and irrelevant badgering of the witness.
The government's objection is sustained, Lieutenant Caffey.
The Krieg is not on trial here. Lieutenant Merrick is. This question constitutes irrelevant probing of medical confidences.
I rely on the judgment of the court. Evidence regarding Lieutenant Commander...
Could have been 100 years, or it could have been 10 million years. I protest! This is not only irrelevant, immaterial, it is illegal. I demand to know the purpose of Mr. Drummond's examination.
Objection. He's a policeman, not an English professor. His interpretation will be speculative and irrelevant.
I didn't hear her ask for an expert opinion. The witness can answer.
Objection, Your Honor. The report is irrelevant and immaterial and not binding on the respondent.
Overruled. Mrs. Kramer, can you tell the court why you are...
Culture that existed long before the sacred scrolls were written. Objection! These remarks are profane and irrelevant. Sustain your archaeological theories.
All right, I'm sorry.
The truth is, it really is totally irrelevant whether I like this man or not. I will not let myself become emotionally involved in business.
to it that there is no third time. Our investigation concludes that this was a good shooting, but that's irrelevant. You ignored the advice of your superiors.
About it, I propose to clean up the mess and you thank me by betraying me. Well, you're all becoming irrelevant. You'll be replaced. The country will be run by mongrels.
We want
time travel.
And when do we want it?
It's irrelevant. Yeah.
And hopefully the product, what comes out of your mouth, is totally irrelevant. Understood? Yes, sir.
Yes, I mean, no, I was before, but I'm not now. But that's all irrelevant, really. The idea of governments, nations is public relations theory at this point.
You're dealing then with someone so obsessed that he or she is willing to kill an irrelevant and innocent victim in order to place the blame on the person who wrote that book.
Whether or not I talk with De Jong, I think is irrelevant at this point. But I think it's a good idea, and maybe my...
It's Aramaic.
How do you know that?
Well, it's completely irrelevant.
See, what I don't understand is why he would send this.
Character.
They got no shoes, lady.
That's irrelevant. It's a matter of national character.
That's an excellent point, Luana. You should include that in your next...
Achieve nothing. You're missing the point. Success of the band was irrelevant. You raised their expectations of life. You lifted their heroic...
I want you to come right over. Oh, David, don't be irrelevant. The point is, I have a leopard. The question is, what am I going to do with it?
Well, Susan,
Forget mutiny, forget piracy, forget murder and all the rest. Those are subsequent irrelevant occurrences. Ignore everything but the preeminent issue at hand.
Of having written this screenplay with you, I've made 20 films, but they're all irrelevant. This is the only film that means anything.
They're just an interpretation, they're not a record. And they're irrelevant if you have the facts.
You really want to get this guy, don't you?
I'd like to get one thing straight, and that is the fact that I'm a woman. But I consider that fact absolutely irrelevant from now on, because I will not accept, nor do I expect, any special consideration.
Am I the only one that sees that by doing this, we're making ourselves irrelevant?
No, frankly, we're making you irrelevant.
Nice.
They're not the same choices you make when you're 60.
That's irrelevant. Every moment of living has its own logic, its own...
You can remote detonate. You still don't think this will work, do you?
Well, what I think is irrelevant.
We need to do it now.
She could not look at me so clearly. All other questions would be irrelevant, except one.
Deserve to know why.
The answer is irrelevant. Does it matter why?
Please understand, I have to know everything. Even if it seems to you irrelevant and unimportant detail. Let's start with yesterday afternoon. Yesterday was Sunday.
Ludwig Bessner will testify to this to any court in the world. In that case, I would have to say that your testimony is irrelevant. Irrelevant?
Is that because you've had so many sexual partners?
Objection. Plaintiff's sexual history is irrelevant, Your Honor.
Overruled.
Perhaps you'll find this information irrelevant in your deliberation of my refund, but
Except you said you hired these guys.
That's irrelevant.
No, look. It's our job to tell you what we've got. So far, we don't have...
You're irrelevant now. Because tonight, at the castle...
So you think it's entertaining to predict and incite terrorist attacks?
Whether I think it's entertaining is irrelevant. Why don't you talk to somebody around here who knows something?
Well, Eddie, like my daddy always used to say...
Well, the message is irrelevant. The main element here that we have to deal with is the fact that fear is...
So then you no longer believe in the creation?
What one believes is irrelevant.
Irrelevant in physics.
Oh.
Your most striking attribute. You are irrelevant. You have neither cast a shadow nor left any footprints upon the great